Hey guys, welcome to Antel Economics.
Hey guys.
And today we're back again for podcast 6, UK versus USA, hosted by myself and Adam. So before we get into this podcast, obviously we have tweet of the week. And this week's tweet of the week was global demand for Chinese goods has fallen. Would a trade war between these two countries lead to a continuation of the trade shortcomings that China is facing? This is in response to a tweet about the China and the USA trade-off. So make sure you guys go follow our Twitter at Antel Economics for more.
So yeah, UK versus USA. Obviously, the pandemic has affected both these countries, probably most compared to other countries. So yeah, Ravi, what's your initial impression on this?
So obviously, when we look at the UK versus the USA, the amount of deaths and the amount of cases vary enormously. But
Mm,
there's one thing that we have to look at, which is the population of both countries, because
yeah,
obviously the population of the US is 330 million compared
yeah,
to the UK, which is around 67 million.
yeah. Like the deaths per million in the UK is actually higher when you look at it in terms of when you factor in the population difference, with UK having 588 deaths per million and the US on 333, I believe.
Yeah, so obviously when you look at that, you initially think, oh gosh, the UK definitely has a lot of has a worse has had a worse effect, more deaths per million, which is a
Mm,
massive thing. The US has had 1.9 million cases, which is a lot of cases,
yeah.
and you could think a lot of the US deaths, but to things like underlying health problems like type 2 diabetes, the
Yeah,
levels of calorie intake there.
yeah. But then again, you could also evaluate that with the UK having an older population, and those are the people that are a bit more susceptible to, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the UK does have an older population, but in the US, like things like food portions, you go to McDonald's and you will get a lot more food, which is
Yeah,
like
that is true.
high calories. So, you put on more weight, so you have
Yeah,
obese people in the country.
yeah. In terms of the actual pandemic, though, and how each country is responding to it, what's your opinion on the USA versus UK? Because immediately some statistics that pop out is the unemployment rate in the USA. It's at 13.3% in comparison with the UK, which they haven't released official statistics, but the estimate is at 7%.
Yeah, so I think this is the UK is half of the USA. I think this is down to the furlough scheme, which is
Mm,
enable people to stay in employment. It's enabled businesses to retain their workforce because the
yeah,
UK government's offering intervention is often incentives for people not to get fired.
yeah,
Compared to the USA, which they're not really doing anything for their workers. Although this unemployment rate, sorry, has actually fallen from 14.7%. So it shows that they are maybe slightly showing signs of recovery.
yeah. Actually, that statement where I think it was 2.5 million people increased in employment, actually boosted the S&P 500 a couple points, and
Yeah.
stocks responded that change. But in terms of the unemployment schemes, obviously the UK is providing incentives for firms to keep people in employment. Do you think that's a good thing? Because lots of companies during this pandemic are going to go bankrupt, and the firms that are having incentives to keep employment, do you reckon that's going to falter the ability for the economies to recover once these companies do become bankrupt?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just being held in employment, and eventually, as soon as the economy is forced to reopen, businesses and shops do have to reopen. There'll be a massive fall in unemployment. There will be more people made redundant because firms just simply cannot afford to keep them on.
Yeah. No, I think the employment rate in the UK is being kept artificially high by these schemes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good scheme though because it's keeping people's morale up. They still feel
Mm,
like they're getting money into their back pocket every month, which they can spend
yeah,
for necessities.
yeah.
But
No,
in
that
the
is
long
true. It's
run,
true.
I think the UK will see a massive fall in unemployment, which is
Mm,
yet to show
yeah.
in the economy.
Yeah, but all of these like support schemes, they are fiscally funded. Like the UK is expected to have a 300 billion plus fiscal deficit for the end of this year, and it just begs the question: will the pandemic affect the ability for the UK to pay this back? And do you reckon the UK will be able to pay back easier than the USA, or would it be harder for them?
So obviously that's a massive. The UK's debt is just rising and rising. It's nearly, I think it's about 97% of the economy, and as it rises, it just means that in the future, it's just going to hurt everyone a bit more. There's going to be tighter fiscal policies. We
Yeah.
could see freezes in public sector wages. We could see tax rises. There'll be a
Uh-huh.
reduction in like big projects like the HS2 railway.
Yeah.
So I think it will affect the UK economy heavily in the long run, and
Yeah.
so debt will be. I think it will be very hard to pay off. Harder than the USA. I'm not too sure. What do you think?
I think it will be harder for the UK to pay off this debt burden more than the USA, mainly because the USA has the US dollar, and obviously that's currency that's used worldwide. And so, in terms of investments that they've received, the USA would always trump the UK in that aspect. And on top of that, the UK demographic, I feel like they are more dependent on workers. I think the dependency ratio is higher in the UK with the aging workforce as well. So like all of these taxes that need to be raised to pay off this debt, it's going to be less likely to be effective in the UK compared to the US.
Yeah, I see your point there, definitely. I think jobless claims in the US has also massively shot up, and that's now at
Mm,
43 million. So
yeah,
unemployment has definitely is definitely peaking in the USA, definitely for
yeah,
the first time in a long time, especially in places like California and Florida. And
yeah,
obviously, Facebook have announced that by 2030 they want their workers to work from home, and will
yeah,
this disrupt like innovation within the Silicon Valley and
yeah,
places
yeah,
like.
yeah.
So yeah, so if there's obviously in Silicon Valley, if we have businesses moving out to stay work online more, work from home,
Yeah.
that could kill a bit of the innovation because their firms won't be close by, able to
Oh, I
meet.
see. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah,
In terms of the obviously the one big difference is the amount of state power or the state reliance that the UK has compared to the USA. How do you think that would affect development? Because yes, the USA is experiencing higher unemployment because of the less regulated markets and economy. But do you think that would mean that they can recover at a quicker rate, or do you think that the UK has the edge on that?
well, I think the UK could recover at a higher rate.
Mm.
But I think, to be honest, I don't think anyone knows at this point. I think it's going to take. It's only a matter of time. It's a matter of seeing what will happen. See, will the UK provide more support to businesses? Will they add more training programs? How are they going to increase their employment again? And how are they going to recover the productive potential that's been lost in the
Yeah,
economy?
yeah. And like just briefly touching on healthcare as well, they're very different in the UK compared to the USA. Obviously, we have a nationalized healthcare system, and America is privatized. So, how do you think that's playing out? Because both of these systems experience inefficiencies that are going to be tested in this pandemic. So,
Yeah, I think in the US, obviously, if you can't afford the healthcare, then that's going to result in more troublesome, more deaths.
yeah,
In the UK, everyone is allowed to, access the healthcare as long as you're a
yeah,
resident in the UK. But the problem is that now the NHS is under a lot of pressure. It's under a lot of scrutiny.
yeah,
There's a can be a lack of funding at times, which obviously
mm,
it piles on the pressure, not just for the government, but
mm,
also for the actual doctors, the frontliners who are
yeah.
constantly trying to work and keep up with the demand.
Yeah. I also feel like a nationalized healthcare system in times of pandemics and crises, they're able to coordinate a better response compared to individual private entities that are found in the US. Like it's going to be much harder for them to nationally combat this virus in a collective means compared to the UK.
Yeah, I think collective, like, working together is definitely something that's really important. And the UK can obviously do that much more efficiently because all the hospitals are under the same trust of the NHS.
Yeah.
To the USA, which is it's all privatized, and obviously everyone's separated out. So I think unity is definitely an important factor in a time
Yeah.
like this when we want everyone just to come together and work for a common goal.
Yeah, and with like unemployment in the US many of the health insurance comes as packages with the job. So with loads of people losing their jobs, they're gonna lose that health insurance too, which will be an issue.
Yeah, so obviously losing healthcare, yeah, that would be really quite massive. Definitely detrimental for families,
Mm,
and that's why I personally think the UK system is a bit better. You know, I feel like
yeah, I
everyone's on
agree.
an equal page, everyone has access to it. No one has to pay for their healthcare to an extent.
Yeah,
So, whereas in the US, you have to pay for everything, or you need to be employed and you need to have health insurance, and I think it's a bit more risky.
yeah. No, that's why I think like Keynesian policies, they will eventually triumph in moments like these. Um, just to touch on the protests as well, obviously we can't ignore the significant worldwide impact that happened upon George Floyd's death. How do you think that will play out compared to America versus UK? Because without doubt, it's going to constitute a huge rise in cases, but also it's going to have an economic impact as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think the protests are a good idea. I think peaceful protests are the way. I don't really agree with all the rioting and looting,
Mm,
but I think the peaceful protests are really good. You know, it's a message that needs to be conveyed. It's a message that needs to be dealt with.
yeah,
I think the right thing is being done. Whether the timing is right, it's a bit questionable, but
yeah, no,
it'll
I would
never be a
agree with that.
perfect time.
I was just going to say, like, the timing of it, I completely agree with the protests and stuff, but purely on an economic basis, like, if COVID case, obviously, Corona doesn't discriminate. And so people who are gathering out on the streets, and the cause is amazing, but you know cases are going to rise and it's only going to worsen the pandemic.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did say that maybe BAME people are more likely to contract COVID-19. So even if that
Oh,
is
fair
the
enough.
case, then that could be
Yeah,
problematic. But still, you know, having mass protests, even if they're peaceful protests, is still a lot of people in a small amount of space, not social distancing.
yeah,
They're only going to put more and more pressure onto these healthcare systems, which are
yeah,
already under immense pressure, which is,
yeah. And I think it's just way worse in USA than it is in the UK as well, even forgetting about COVID. You know, the damage to the infrastructure that's being incurred, that's going to be quite an economic impact that the USA would have to deal with as well. And like once the pandemic is over, the loss in productivity that's gained from these riots, although a good thing, it is going to affect economically the USA much more than the UK.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we've seen many riots in the UK as of yet, but in the US we've
Yeah,
seen it quite prominent. And looting small businesses and things is only damaging not just the economy as a whole, but also the local economy. So if
yeah,
it's people's damaging their own businesses, they're only doing harm to themselves in the long run, which is a shame.
yeah. No, yeah, definitely, and it will only widen the inequalities that exist, especially in the USA.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So just before we finish off, like as kind of closing statements, in your opinion, which country do you think is on track to recover faster, the United Kingdom or the USA?
I would say the UK will recover quicker than the United Kingdom. I think that they have the NHS, which is a really significant part. I think although the unemployment will rise, I think they will be able to combat this well with schemes
Yeah,
compared to the USA, which I think relies a lot more on things like, um, I think it relies a lot more on the free market.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I just feel like the USA is going to have a much harder agenda post-pandemic with the racial tensions that are building up as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think on that note, it's a good place to end it, guys. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Please do comment down below, like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.